what do you think, what roles will AI play in travel distribution, and what do you expect to change for providers, intermediaries, and travelers?
Yeah, where I get most excited about machine learning and artificial intelligence is really around being able to understand the guest better. And by that I mean, if you think about the average experience, a lot of times you're booking a hotel room, booking an entire trip, and the hotel really doesn't know that much about you. Maybe you don't have a loyalty program membership, or even if you do, you might not have logged on as you're booking. And even then, it's hard to pull the disparate data from the various systems to have a really clear understanding of the guest. And so our thought is that ultimately what the machines will allow us to do is to process very large data sets. In some cases, I might know that it's an individual traveler, and I can see profile information, past history, and come up with a recommendation on some products and services that he or she might like. But even if I don't know who you are, I can run through large data sets, and I can see similar behavior in the shopping patterns, and based on those patterns, I can infer what it is you probably like. For example, even if you know that I'm Clinton Anderson and traveling from Dallas-Fort Worth, where I live, to Paris, if I'm traveling to my wife and say staying at a Hilton property, if Hilton offers me the spa package, my wife's going to say, yes, we're buying that every single time. Mm-hmm. But if I'm traveling to Paris with my CEO and you offer me the spa package, that might be a career-limiting move. So big data and machine learning can really get good at making a recommendation on who that traveler is, what the context is of the trip, and how you can match the products and services to create a really good guest experience.
You know, a few years ago, we started investing heavily in the data side of our business. We started, and we took the traditional kind of way. We looked at people, we looked at technology, and we looked at process. We started by hiring a chief data and analytics officer, probably, I think, the first in the hospitality industry, an expert who actually came from retail, who had been slightly ahead of us in that respect. And over the last couple of years, we've built out a team, almost 150 strong now, of data specialists. This isn't something that, you know, you can just pick up and do as a hobby. It requires specialists. They're focused on data quality, because if you don't have the right quality data, you're going to make bad decisions. Data governance, of course, we have to keep the data secure. And they're focused on advanced analytics, machine learning, which is really where we start to be able to impact the customer experience. So people first, and get really intelligent, knowledgeable people we've been investing in. Second, the platform. You know, we've built out large-scale, cloud-based, real-time, big data environment. Lots of technical terms in there which I don't fully understand, but Hadoop nodes and hundreds of these things. And it's actually collecting for us now about 1 billion data points a day, which again reinforces your point. We need the machine's help to interpret that data. And then third, and where it gets really interesting, is the process. So how do you start using this data in order to enhance the customer experience? And there's two sides to that in my view. One is real-time, embedded in operational systems, algorithms that are going to react to customer behaviors in the moment. Make decisions real-time, change what happens for that customer. And then there's the other side, which is making connections across this data and providing it back to our team members so they have more connected insights to make better business decisions. For the customer, you know, right now, if you engage with us in a chat environment on our websites, then our chat bot is the initial point of contact. That means for about 25,000 contacts every week, natural language processing is trying to identify intent in what is your issue or what support you need. And for about 20% of those engagements, the chatbot can very quickly and efficiently deal with the problem, deliver customer experience, and solve that situation for the customer. And where it can't, then it passes it on to one of our customer agents, who can then do the more complicated engagements with the customer. Today, and if you look into the future for our customers, we're looking at how we break down the experiences we have to a much more granular level, which will enable us to connect those experiences with really specific customer needs. So today we sell a standard room, we sell a superior room, a deluxe room. Those rooms have hundreds of features, right? Whether it be the view, whether it be how many plugs, or whether it's a walk-in shower or a tub. we're going to break down and granularize that content so that as we understand customers' granular needs, we can connect them to not the room type, but the exact experience that they want in the hotel that they're traveling to.
What do you see as the biggest opportunity for the travel industry now and in 5 years? I mean, because progress is, really advancing fast.
Yeah, so I think at the moment, like for the travel industry, the biggest opportunity is definitely mobile. So we see the mobile shift from the consumers. All our data shows that like the majority of searches in travel now come from mobile devices. Maps usage is primarily on mobile. So that is definitely the biggest opportunity we have right now. But then moving forward, I would agree with what you just said, is like unlocking all that data that is there. And we know from different studies that 90% of the data in a lot of companies is unstructured and not used. So this brings a lot of potential to all the industry. And I think this is the way for the future.
What role will Google play in the travel industry in the future? I mean, everybody's using Google.
Yeah, so,
mostly.
well, I think our focus has always been, we want to focus on the user, and like deliver the best possible digital travel experience for that user. And we keep on having this focus. And I think with that, we also will stay relevant and in that area. But we have to also keep on innovating according to that changing user behavior.
Yeah. So what are Google's plans for hotel distribution?
Yeah, so I mean, the hotel category is a very large one when we look at the number of searches already. So as I just said, right, we try to innovate in that space and make that experience as useful and effortless as possible. And there's many different areas in which we try to innovate, especially on the mobile part, and then also moving forward, leveraging data and all these things.
Clinton, for which tasks in which hotel segments and for which customer groups do robots make sense in the hotel industry?
But if you define robot as something that's an automated task, this is where it goes back to, again, given the large amounts of data that are available about the customer, we can then start to automate things like, as you break down these room attributes, what is it, the exact experience that someone might like? And it's not like we have to figure this out afresh, because Christopher made a reference to the retail sector. If you think about the e-commerce experience that you've all had, and this goes back to the point around, is this too big brotherish? Is it going to freak people out? If you're trying to be Amazon, it's kind of hard, right? Because if I buy a vacuum cleaner on Amazon, Amazon thinks I collect vacuum cleaners and wants to keep suggesting, here's another vacuum cleaner you might like. And when you're trying to figure out the entire world, it's hard. But I think the real benefit we have in travel is that it's a relatively narrow sector, right? There's a very narrow set of things we're talking about. We're not talking about vacuum cleaners. And so in that world, as we start to apply the algorithms against and have the compute power and the data access, we can start to make recommendations that are going to fundamentally change how you experience a trip. And I think this has real benefits to the hotels and to the guests. On the hotel side, this goes back to the Google experience, right? As hotels are spending money on customer acquisition, you have a much higher return on investment in customer acquisition because you're converting higher, because you're getting something in front of the customer they want. In addition to that, you're probably getting a higher yield with each booking, because if people get what they want, they're certainly willing to pay more. And there's a ton of research that shows if you can customize the offering, something like 60% of customers believe that they'll be willing to pay more if they can have a customized offer. And then maybe lastly, as you're driving share of wallet on property, both in terms of products and services that exist on property, but maybe it's some of those ancillary services as well. As a frequent business traveler, I show up to a city, I've been busy, I've been in meetings all day. We all have, look, my family thinks I live a sexy life, traveling around the cities and doing cool things, but the reality is, right, we don't have a lot of time. But if you know that I like small independent venues where bands are playing, or that I like basketball, and you can recommend, hey, would you like to go see this concert or tickets to this game? You've provided a service to me that's very valuable. And that increases the share of wallet for the hotel partner. So I think ultimately the e-commerce folks have figured out how this works well and doing it in a way that's non-invasive and actually drives value for the hotels and increased quality of experience for the guests.
That's right. I mean, it's incredible. You rarely get a win-win-win, and this really is, right? A win for the hotel owner who's investing hundreds of millions of dollars in the real estate, a win for the customer because they get exactly what they want, and a win in this case for Hilton because we get to grow our network of customers that we can serve each and every day.
And the customers probably don't want robots as receptionists in your hotels, right?
I would agree with that, yes. And by automating parts of their experience, our experienced customer service agents get to engage more deeply on what's really important to the customer, which is becoming increasingly connecting them to the experience locally where they are and providing them with the insight they have, our customer service team members, on what to do in and around the hotel.
I definitely would agree, right? Human touch won't go away. And we were referencing to retail. I think like also there, sometimes people still like the store experience, and stores still have their reason why they are there. And digital helps and changes the experience, but human touch in the hospitality industry will still stay.
What do you think, what is the luxury customer as such want in terms of technology in the hotel? I mean, do they even want technology, or do they want something else?
Yeah, and we talk about a luxury customer, and what we're seeing more and more is a luxury trip, not a luxury customer, i.e., when we look at our customers, they will stay across our brands. They will be in a Hampton when they're traveling for a sporting event with the family. They'll be in a Hilton on a business meeting, and for a romantic weekend or something special, they'll be in a Waldorf. And so what they want is actually similar in some respects. They want to remove friction from the experience. They want choice and control. And they want service, hospitality and personal service available to them where they want it. I think luxury is an example where some have introduced technology gimmicks. You know, when you go into a room and it takes you 25 minutes to work out how to turn the lights on, then you know we're being a bit introspective. Right, and we've done it wrong. Yes. But if you can have a room that comes to life when you walk in, has your entertainment on the TV, is at your temperature, and if you want it, has your pictures on the wall from your device, then that's a personal experience, if you want it.
So luxury customers want, just as the others, just their own personal experience.
Absolutely, yes.
And that's what luxury is all about in the end. Lutz, how will artificial intelligence help us find the best travel deals for our unique needs faster and more accurately?
Yeah, well, I think it goes back to personalization.
Yeah.
Again, what we discussed, like AI will definitely help that. Like looking at data currently, like the booking or the planning and booking process of a vacation can take up to 30 days or even longer. And like we know from many consumers that they do not like to do all this research and so on. So I think with that, we can significantly reduce that time by providing better offers, the right offers to these people.
And I think this is the power where search and the hotel flexibility come together, right? Because, I mean, I think the airlines have done a good job of monetizing the idea of different attributes being priced for, but you kind of feel nickel and dime, right? Anybody flies on a low-cost carrier, you got that great rate, and suddenly it's, you know, here's a soda, here's a pillow, here's a blanket, everything's an upcharge. But ultimately, I think the way this works is as I'm searching for that rate, if I want the best rate, I can go find that best rate. And if that's all I want is the best rate, I've got it.
Right.
But then as you start to able to layer in different offers that are kind of customized to you, but not just saying, I know you perfectly, but give some flexibility and saying, well, we think you might like this, or have you considered that? Suddenly you give choice and flexibility in a way that when I am traveling with my mates to go see a game and I'm being kind of a tightwad and want to be super cheap, I can have that, I can find that room, but at the same time when I'm looking for a much better experience when I'm traveling with my wife, I can get that as well. And that's ultimately, I think, the challenge we're going to face is, while we see 5-7 years out the full power of AI, the question in my mind comes is how do we start to deploy this in a way that works across channels, right, both direct and indirect, how it works in terms of being able to provide the basic levels of fulfillment, because sometimes that's the hard part, right? The offer and order management is pretty straightforward. How you guarantee fulfillment is where things, I think, become very complicated. And as a hotel, having been formerly an operator in a hotel, I'm sure you know that well, Chris. So I think it's going to be about the first use cases that we can collectively bring to market that drive value, prove the concept to the hotel owners, to the hotel operators, provide value to the guests. That's going to create a flywheel effect And as that flywheel effect moves faster and faster, there'll be more investment in this space, and I think broader adoption by the hotels and acceptance by the guests.
Chris, what impact does technology and artificial intelligence powered by data have on your employees at your hotels now and in the future?
Well, I think it's going to free them, as we've said. You know, a lot of what they've had to do in the past is transactional administrative tasks. And I don't think there are many people that, you know, find that the fulfilling way to spend their day. But they also have had in the past to try and juggle that with customers who want to engage and really get value from that team member. So it's going to free certainly the frontline team members to engage in more meaningful connections with our customers. And we know, you know, digital data analytics will improve customer experience greatly. But we know it's the human touch, right? It's hospitality that delivers the magic.
Do you think that people are scared of booking a room in a hotel if you use one of these systems because they don't like it if their data is saved or used?
I think consumers, they definitely want safety, transparency, and they want to give consent to their data. And they give consent when they see value in it, what you just mentioned. And Google puts a lot of effort into these three areas, especially here in Germany. We have an engineering office focused on our privacy tools to make all our products as safe as possible. Also to give the user the transparency, also the control, right? To say, that's the data I want to share, that I'm willing to share, and some data I might not want to share, and that's also okay.